grown Island Web Design to over 100 clients in less than a year, sold websites with price tags like this consistently, generated a load of leads without ever doing any outreach, and sold over 10 websites a month for 3 months straight. And I started all of this from my parents' lounge with no money, and these are my top tips, tricks, and secrets that I wish I knew when I started Island Web Design that would have got me to the 10K a month mark way quicker. And my first tip, and this is so important if you want to get paid what you're worth as a designer, and that is that there is no benefit to being the second cheapest in the market, the same as there's no benefit to being the second most expensive in the market. And what I'm trying to say here is when I started Island Web Design, the main headline on our website was affordable web design in Guernsey and Jersey. And I really thought that affordable was something that I should lean into. I thought it was something that people were going to bite because, you know, people are always moaning about the cost of this, the cost of that, this should be cheaper. But I realized this is so far from the truth. Like, if you actually want to get paid what you're worth, not only do you not want the kind of clients that are just like, you know, they only care about the price, they don't care about the result. You need the kind of clients that care more about the result than the price, and they understand the value that it's going to bring to their business. Because you don't want to be working with clients that are literally just trying to get a deal out of you. They might not even have the money to pay the final payment when it comes up. And yeah, I mean, ultimately I learned this the hard way, but you really need to find good quality clients that are able to pay a decent amount of money and really care about the results for their business, because you care about the results for their business. And if you can get results for their business and your whole selling point is the results for their business, if they don't care about these results, then you're not, you know, the selling point is not speaking to them. Like, you're literally not even speaking to them because they're not listening, they don't care about the results. So find clients that are willing to pay more. Don't go into affordable, like, trust me, that is not the way to go. And my second tip, I actually heard Rory Sutherland talk about this, who's like a really famous marketing guy, but basically it's about the choices that people didn't know they have. And what I'm saying here is, if you do a load of stuff included in your service that you consider valuable, for example, with our service, we do all their Google search optimization free as part of the package. We give them a free Facebook promotion as part of the package. There's loads of stuff we do as part of the package. And originally, I just did all that stuff as part of the package. I didn't really highlight that I did it. To me, that was just stuff that was supposed to come with the package. And once I realized that I should be highlighting this value because I'm providing it anyway and people don't even know it exists, you need to be like highlighting the actual benefits and features. And sometimes these might be obvious things that you think go without saying, but if you just highlight these features, it really comes down to the choices people didn't know they had. A lot of people don't make a choice simply because they didn't know they had the option. They only realized that they were only given a couple options and they didn't realize that other options were available. And you'll always hear me say that our packages include a load of things that other companies will charge you a fortune for. And honestly, that's completely true. Like, this is all stuff that other companies will be marking up extra invoices and all that for. And I just include it as part of our package. The price reflects the value, and we just make sure that we highlight the features and the benefits that are included. And by the way, I just said highlight the features and benefits that are included, but that actually leads me on to my next thing, and that is that you need to highlight the value and the results you get, and not the features and the benefits. So for example, rather than saying we are going to give you a free Facebook promotion with the launch of your website, you can say we guarantee you more visitors to your website at launch. And you can guarantee that because you're paying for the Facebook promotion, which is going to get them more visitors. But it's all about framing it. The feature is free Facebook promotion. The benefit is loads more visitors to your website. And if you can say we guarantee to get you loads more visitors to your website, like we did for this business, that business, and this business, and it's all people they recognize, then even better. My next tip is, I wish I put my face in the video sooner, because honestly, I tell people this all the time. People relate to people and people recognize me. Like, the reason Nike use Michael Jordan and Adidas use Yeezy, Kanye West, is because those are people that people feel an affinity towards. Once people see me enough, I provide them enough value, they watch me enough times that they trust me and they feel familiar with me, they are far more likely to buy from Jordan than they are from Island Web Design. And don't get that mixed up. Like, I'm not saying you should name your company, for example, I wouldn't name my company Jordan, I wouldn't name my company my full name, and I wouldn't frame myself as a freelancer, which is actually a tip for later, which is not to frame yourself as a freelancer, and we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, I wish I put my face in the videos sooner, because the second I started putting my face in the videos, like I spoke about this before, but I had a consulting call with Ben Heath from Heath Media. You should definitely check out his YouTube channel. I learned a load about Facebook ads from this guy. But I had a consulting call with him trying to scale my business because I had good results, but I just couldn't work out how to scale it. And he was like, why don't you put your face in the videos, especially considering you live in a small island where everyone like is going to recognize you and people are going to know you and start to feel familiar with you. And I literally got off the call with him, put my face in the videos, and scaled my business by over 150% that month, literally from just putting my face in the videos and starting to let people build up familiarity with me. And I'm telling you now, we now go out for lunch. Like, we went out for a meal the other night. We walk into the restaurant, and before the people even greet us, they're like, oh, you're the guy from Facebook. Literally everywhere I go, people know who I am and they recognize me from Facebook. And that's because I put my face in my videos, I put myself out there, I let people become familiar with me. And not only is Island Web Design, but I'm also Jordan from Island Web Design, and I have my own social media, Instagram, Facebook and stuff, where people know me for what I talk about. When I first started Island Web Design, I looked on Facebook Ads Library, which is a tip for you guys. You can go on Facebook Ads Library, you can see all ads that are running right now and all ads that are running in the past for any company, right? And if you can, by the way, if you can find an ad that's been running for more than 6 months, it's obviously a successful ad, you can copy the framework. But yeah, basically, I went on Facebook Ads Library and I looked around who in Guernsey and Jersey are advertising web design. And there was nobody with their face in, literally nobody. There were a load of faceless people, and this is where I make my point. If you are just some faceless company saying you offer web design, then honestly, like, what's the difference between you and anybody else? They might look at your portfolio, and if everybody's got nice websites and nobody has spoken about why their website is different from this website, why their website got this result or that result, then how can anybody really make their decision? And this really leads me on to my next point, which is that you need to include as much context as possible with your websites and with your projects. And this is something that took me a little while to learn, and we've gradually included more and more context as we've grown and as we've started to do more projects. But basically, if you can highlight the results, the problem the person had, exactly how you solved it, maybe even show a before and after between the old website and the new website, and then people can associate those results with your face, which was my last point, and they can be like, that guy that we recognize and we are familiar with can get these results, and we can go and read and we can see, oh, they had this problem and he did this, that and this to sort it out. He obviously knows what he's talking about. He obviously has proof of concept because he's done it before, and this is going to benefit you so much more than being like, just look at this website. And this leads me on to my next point, which is when you showcase your portfolio on your website, don't just use screenshots of websites, and especially don't use blurry screenshots. Like, you need to get nice mock-ups. And remember, with mock-ups, you're not selling laptops, you're not selling iPhones, you're selling websites. This is something that another designer that I met with, actually a piece of advice that he gave me, but that is that you're not selling laptops, you're selling websites. So zoom in on the screen of the mock-up and highlight your design, and then when they click into that, you should speak about why you made these decisions. The same as when you propose your design to the client. Like, when you finish the design and you're showing the design to the client, as I spoke about in my video about how you show your work to your client with Loom videos, you need to speak to the client about why you made these decisions, why you did this, why you did that, because once they get an insight into that and they understand why you did this and why you did that, then they can perceive it the same way you do, rather than just looking at it and it's up for interpretation, and then I wonder what that's about. So we used to have so many different color mock-ups on our website. We used to have ones with green backgrounds, red backgrounds, some were lit up backgrounds, some were backgrounds with depth, some were flat color backgrounds. We had all sorts of backgrounds on these mock-ups. They were all different colors, and the art direction was so inconsistent. And that designer that I met with, that I told you about in the last tip, he literally said to me, you need to make all of the art direction here consistent, because all of the branding and stuff on the website is consistent, but the art direction isn't. In other words, the images are all different colors and different hues. And this doesn't just apply to mock-ups. Honestly, with any images on your website, let's say we've got different images on my website of me, like at my laptop doing stuff. If one of them is in a room where all the walls are white and it's like a very white image, and then the next one is in a room where all the walls are blue and it's like a very blue image, those images right next to each other are going to look inconsistent to the eye. And this is another tip about design, right, is sometimes your design might basically look perfect, but if there are like certain little spacing issues and things don't slightly line up, for example, the margins are slightly uneven or whatever, even though the person doesn't know what's wrong when they look at it, their brain still perceives inconsistencies in this design, and it's still like it's like unfamiliar to them, and it just feels wrong when they're looking at it. You need to be able to make your design flow, and that involves consistent spacing and all that kind of stuff, even though that's a little bit of a separate topic to what I was talking about. The next thing that I wish I knew when I started, and honestly, this is probably one of the most important things in our business, is SOPs. And what's SOPs, you might ask? Standard operating procedures. And I know that probably still hasn't shed much light on it, but basically standard operating procedures are the checklist of tasks that you work through to deliver your work. So basically, for the design of a project, for the development of a project, even for the onboarding of a client, we have a set task list that we work through, so we work through the same steps every time. When I first started, I just had my process in my head, and I was just doing everyone's site by my process, but they were all slightly different because I wasn't following any particular process. And I realized that Henry Ford, when he revolutionized the assembly line and revolutionized an entire industry, the reason that is because the way you do something good is once you have a good process, you keep doing it the same way every time. Now, I know there are a lot of dynamic elements like the design and obviously all of the creative side, but when it comes to the actual steps that you go through to create that, you should be following the same thing every time. And once I started implementing ClickUp, which is a software that we use, you'll have a link in the description, to follow all of these tasks and implement all my standard operating procedures in my business. So for example, in the web development task, if there is a task that says go and set up the Astro project, there will be a link to our knowledge base where there is the documentation they need to actually set up the Astro project. So we've curated a whole knowledge base, and that doesn't only mean that I'm going to follow the same steps every time, but if I onboard a new staff member member into my company, they can jump in with very minimal training and just follow through the steps and the knowledge base and get the same result we get, because that's our proven method, and I've managed to put that into standard operating procedures. So even if you don't want to go balls deep like we have and implement an entire basically automated ClickUp standard operating procedure, and by the way, I am going to do a video on that, so make sure you subscribe for more, you can always just make sure that you follow the same steps every time, but gradually as you grow, you're going to want to implement it properly. And there's loads of websites that do this, Monday, Asana and all that, but honestly ClickUp is the best one because, well, there's so many reasons ClickUp is the best one, but not only is the AI integrated, we do our customer portal in there, and actually I'll speak to my next point, which is that I wish I'd done a customer portal earlier, which is way more simple than it sounds, and this is just a place where everyone can find all their links and logins and all the resources we've sent them, and we implement that in ClickUp. And the sick thing about that is when they jump in there, they can just pull up ClickUp's AI and they can be like, yo, how does this work? Where do I go? And ClickUp's AI will literally tell them exactly how it works, where to go, and that AI is trained on all the documents in ClickUp, which is our knowledge base. So this is super helpful. I will be doing a video to dive deeper on this, but the thing you need to know, and the thing that I wish I knew, is that you need to be following the same steps every time once you have a proven method for success. The next tip is about your capacity, and this ties into ClickUp as well. ClickUp has time tracking. We now track all our time, and that's not so I can be on people and be like, oh, you haven't done enough hours or whatever. This is so I can manage our capacity. I can be like, we have 2 3-page websites here. This one took this amount of hours. This one took this amount of hours. Let's try and work out why this one was less efficient. What did we do here that we didn't do there? And it just helps us know also how many websites we can take on. I'm starting to look and be like, well, these websites take this amount of hours. I have this many tasks booked in this week, so we can't book any more websites in this week. So being able to track your time and know your capacity is so important, because there was a point in Island Web Design where I was just signing clients, and I went way over my capacity, and I had no idea that I'd gone over my capacity because I didn't even know what my capacity was. I've already spoke about talking about results, but honestly this is so important, like the way you write your copy and everything. We've massively changed the way we write, and every piece of content that you see written by Island Web Design is written by me or by Jade. And when we write this stuff, we're always trying to focus on results, because like we want our clients to succeed just as much as they want to succeed, and the way that they succeed is by getting those results. So obviously, like I said earlier, we follow the same steps every time so we can guarantee the results because we know our method works. But yeah, being able to find a problem and highlight the results is so important, and you'll notice on our website we're always talking about how we did this for that person and that for this person, and we're ultimately hoping that people see this and they go, oh, we have that problem. And honestly, this applies in any business. We're currently marketing for Softwash Solutions, which does like render cleaning on people's houses, cleans the side of his house and all that. And we do the same thing here. We show before and afters, and think how common this is in advertising, by the way. Before and afters is showing results. So you can do the same thing with websites. Make sure, this is so important, I wish I had done this earlier. When your client comes to you with an old website that they want redesigning, always take before photos. I never used to take before photos, and I'm literally getting older clients like, yo, have you got any photos of your old website? Because I really want to do a before and after. And I didn't take any before photos, and I just regretted it. And when I talk about finding a problem, being able to identify a problem, the way that you know what are the problems that resonate with your target market is by listening to your clients. Like when I was first meeting with clients, I didn't quite know exactly which problems resonated with them. I knew kind of basically which problems, but obviously it depends. In certain markets, for example, in Guernsey and Jersey, there's going to be different problems to what people have in the UK. And you know, there's different problems everywhere. It's also industry specific. So what we did was just listen to our clients. Clients would come in and be like, oh, our old web designer did this, our old web designer did that, we didn't like this, we didn't like that. And we would end up working out what the problem is. Or they'd be, I'd say, what was the problem with your old website? And they would be like, it didn't do this, it didn't get us that. And ultimately we'd know what the result is. And I always make sure I ask people, what does success look like for you with this website? Because if you don't know what success looks like for them, then how can you know if you were successful? And again, I'm jumping around a bit here, but talking about before and afters reminded me that when you do proposals for clients, honestly, something that massively helped our proposals was Loom videos. The same as when we show clients the design work, is I'll literally go through a client's old website. For example, I did a proposal for All About Yoga, and I literally recorded myself on the screen with myself in the corner, going through her old website and pointing out issues like the booking system was clunky, and this was a problem, that was a problem. I'd fix this. I think it'd be really cool if we did this. And the fact that I could literally pull up the old website, talk her through, she could see how enthusiastic I was about it, and also and still am about it, by the way. That website's gonna be coming out soon and it's amazing. But she could just see that I cared about the project, I had a good idea about what I wanted to do, and even without any guidance on her telling me what the problem was, before we'd got on a call, I could already identify problems that resonated with her, because I had listened to my clients and I knew what problems normally resonate with my clients. So speaking of proposals, when we used to send people like quotes or proposals or whatever, I used to just send a big block of text. I used to do it in an email, just write them a big email or write it in a Google Doc and send them the link. And then eventually we started doing it in HubSpot, but I was still writing big blocks of text. And somebody gave me a piece of advice, which was just to break it up into into sections, make it a bit more digestible, which to be honest, I should know. I'm a web designer. I'm always telling people, make it more digestible. You need to make the information more easy to consume, but I just didn't realize it myself in our quotes. So basically, yeah, we started separating off the text into paragraphs, putting a clear title above each paragraph, and having a quote template of information that we would include, making sure that we include the price clear in bold so people could scan it and quickly identify the price. And it just meant that more people were reading our proposals, so more people understood what we were proposing and the kind of results we could get, which meant that more people were accepting our proposals. And when I talk about this, and when I say like I used to just send Google Docs, we used to do the same for loads of things. For example, our onboarding questionnaire. And that is my next tip, is you need to have an onboarding questionnaire, because you can listen to your clients as much as you want on the calls, but you need to be able to get them to get their ideas in writing and just confirm that you heard everything correctly. So you need to do an onboarding questionnaire, right? We have an onboarding questionnaire, which is a form on our website that we send people to, and we ask them all sorts of questions about their goals for the business, goals for the website, so we can work out what they're trying to do. But what we used to do with the onboarding questionnaire is I used to literally just have some questions in a Google Doc. For example, I worked with Watson Flooring, which is Brad Watson from Guernsey, and I sent him the questionnaire, and he gets back to me and he's like, where do I fill it out? And I was like, don't know actually. I was like, shit, I was like, just write it anyway. I was like, why don't you just type your answers into the message or whatever? And I realized how difficult I'd made this, and it took him ages to fill out the questionnaire. It was my fault because I made it so difficult. But after that, I was like, shit. But I still didn't do anything about it because I was just so busy with work. And then I signed another client, and he was just taking ages to fill out the questionnaire, and I realized that he was just finding it difficult. He didn't have a lot of tech skill level, which most of our clients don't. So what I did there and then was put together a page on our website with a questionnaire and sent him the link. And that ultimately made me realize that everything needs to be easier. We used to do this with the contracts as well. We used to just send people a contract and expect them to either print it off and sign it or put it into their own e-signing software. The second that we automated our entire onboarding sequence, sent people contracts automatically, sent them the invoices automatically, all of this became so much easier. And that's the same for our payment link, and this is something we've only implemented recently. Because we deal mainly in Guernsey and Jersey, it's all local bank transfers, so I have been able to take bank transfers. But I realized that if it needs to be easier for people to pay. Like I was thinking the other day, imagine if people could just double tap and pay like they do with their card on their phone. And then I realized I have a Revolut account. So I went on Revolut and I had a little look around, and it turns out that Revolut literally include a payment page that you can send people to. People can pay by Apple Pay, bank transfer, whatever. And I literally just include this in our email now and say to people, you can pay really simply online by simply just double tapping here. And ultimately that's massively increased the amount of people who receive invoices that actually pay them. And speaking of automated onboarding sequences, I've done a whole video on this, by the way, so the link's going to be in the description, and that's exactly how Zapier and AI does all the onboarding for my agency, and we're literally onboarding like 10 clients a month. AI does all of this. I've actually just made our automations better because we did have a few problems with them, and these are the kind of things that you learn what's best to do as you go. But we now have a whole automation. I can literally get off a call with someone, they've agreed to the price, I drop them in contract sent in our HubSpot pipeline, and that triggers the automation. They get sent a contract with the amount, all the correct information. They get sent their invoice and their payment link and all that so they can pay. The second they pay, that gets marked as paid and they receive their questionnaire. As soon as they fill out their questionnaire, that comes to us. AI summarizes it for us, it goes to us, and the project starts. They get a confirmation email and all that. So all of the onboarding is done completely automatically, and this has saved so much time. Imagine I'm onboarding 10 clients a month and I'm like filling out all the contracts myself, sending them all the invoices. It was an absolute nightmare, and I knew about automated systems, but I kind of thought we didn't really need one. And now I've realized that our automated system does so much stuff. And let me lead that on to my next tip, which is don't have AI and automations and stuff doing client-facing things that the client is expecting you to do. I don't have clients doing designs. I don't have AI doing designs. I don't have AI writing things, like writing big amounts of text or anything like that. I don't have AI coming up with ideas like that. I'm not having AI interact with my clients. AI is doing all the automated tasks on the back end that are tedious, and the things that can be done by AI and the things that save me loads of time and allow me to focus on delivering for my clients and design and development work. And speaking of process, I probably should have included this when I spoke about the assembly line, but I told you need to get standard operating procedure, a checklist of your process, but also you need to kind of write a how it works document for a client. We have a how it works document on our website that clients can go read. It just explains how the process works. But when I get on a call with people, I always tell them, I'm just going to give you a little run through of how the process goes so you know what to expect. And I say, we start with this step, and I go through and I explain the process to them. I explain each step, how it works, and then at the end, I basically say something along the lines of, that was a brief overview of the process. If you have any questions about anything specific, feel free to ask. And that just means that people understand what the next steps are, they understand what they're getting themselves into, and I always tell people, we are going to be in pretty constant contact throughout the process. You're never going to be left in the dark, and you're always going to know what's going on, and that just makes people feel so much more at ease, and that's probably why we have a really high close rate. The next thing I wish I knew is to always follow up with people, and when I would send out a proposal or I'd have a lead, I would always follow up with people, but I wasn't very persistent, and I kind of didn't want to be salesy myself. But now I realize that they've entered themselves into your ecosystem by contacting you, they've shown interest, they have the problem that you can fix. So you need to follow up with them, at least just until they say no, just until they're like no. But if they haven't said no to you yet, and they have shown interest and expressed interest, asked you to send them a proposal or a quote or an invoice or whatever, you need to follow up with these people. And that leads me on to saying that once you get people into your ecosystem, I mean, in our pipeline, once people people kind of come as a lead, but they don't close. We put them in close lost, and we had a massive pipeline of people. The value amount on this amount of people, the amount that the projects were all worth, was mental. In our close lost that had just gone forgotten, like the ones that got away. And I realized they're in our ecosystem. They've entered themselves into our ecosystem. We need to be nurturing these people. Like, they'll probably close one day. They have the problem. Maybe it wasn't like, you know, maybe they didn't have the money right now, or maybe they didn't quite need it right now, but like later on it's going to be suitable. So yeah, you just need to make sure like we retarget people with different ads based on interest they've shown. And we also have emails for people that are in our closed lost pipeline where we follow up with them, we provide them with some value and some tips to help them with their website. Because if they've got a shit website and they need a new one from us, but just not quite yet, we want to be able to give them tips and value to help them with their current website. And then when they come to their new website, they're going to think of us. Oh my God, I wish I knew this at the start. If you're going to record content, because at the start, I was making a TikTok video every day. My TikTok videos were doing really well because I had a real skill to teach, which was web design, and I managed to film the videos in an engaging way. But I was filming these videos every day, even though, which is the #1 tip I give to everyone, which is film what you're already doing. Even though I was filming what I'm already doing, I was going out of my way each and every day to film a video. And if it got later in the day and I'd forgotten, I'd be like, shit, I need to film a video, I need to post every day. And I start putting a video together. Now, we record all our shorts for the week at one time, and that is so much easier. And we're just filming what we're already doing. So I'll just be doing like, I'm doing this really interesting project. There's 6 or 7 things we could get here and 1 tip I could talk about around it. And we just film that. And I'm telling you now, get on a content schedule. The next thing, which is extremely important for web designers, web developers, anybody that is delivering websites to clients in your agency, is find a reliable web framework. We specialize in building custom coded websites with Astro and Sanity as our content management system to allow clients to update and manage and maintain their website easily. We basically turn Sanity into a page builder with a visual editor. Clients can go into their website, they can click to edit. It's super easy. It's way better than any of these fucking website builders like WordPress or anything like that. And we have made that our own. All of our content regarding development is about Astro and Sanity. All of our websites are built in Astro and Sanity. We even built this custom real estate app for a client recently that involves a lot of database work. We used AstroDB, which actually unfortunately shut down, by the way. So if anybody does have AstroDB, make sure that you transfer that over, because they are going to shut down and just get rid of all the data in the database, and we fell victim to that. It's not hard to transfer it over, so just make sure you do. But regardless, we specialize in Astro and Sanity. We don't do much database work, so we will just use different database things if we need it. But yeah, we specialize in Astro and Sanity. We've made that our own, and that just means that in our knowledge base, all of the code snippets and all the videos and all that are based around Astro. All of our components, we have our own Island Web Design component library. All of those are based around Astro and Sanity. And because we specialize in this, it's similar to how I spoke about the assembly line before. We're doing the same thing the same way each time. And we know that for us and the kind of websites that we're building and the kind of clients we're working with, this is the perfect tech stack. This is the perfect setup. So if you guys are interested in the full tech stack that we use at Island Web Design to do everything that I've spoken about, we have another video on that where I dive into all the apps and all the softwares and subscriptions that we have, how we use them and why they're beneficial. So that'll be in the description and hopefully above, so you can check that out as well. The next one's for the designers, or obviously if you're an agency owner, then this is something that you should be teaching to your designers, and that is that in Figma you should always be using variables and color styles, and text styles. But to be honest, this applies to development as well. In CSS, or we use SCSS, you should always be using variables, because if you want to change the shade of a green or change the size of your H1, you don't want to have to go and change it on each page. Whether you're in a design or coding, you just want to be able to change the variable and it will change everywhere. And you want to maintain consistency, make sure all your fonts have the correct line height and all that kind of stuff, because ultimately if you have like 2 heading 2s in 2 different places, you make them the same font weight and same font size, a lot of the time people miss either the kerning, letter spacing, or the line height or whatever. There are a load of other things that need to be included to make it consistent, which is why you're better using text styles. And there's plugins for this. You've got text style generator. You can just highlight all your text styles and turn them into styles. Same for the variable generator. So you can just highlight all your colors, turn them into variables. And this is going to be super handy in building bigger websites. And especially also by the way, the same with your header. So for example, your navigation on your website, that's going to be the same everywhere. Your footer is going to be the same everywhere. And in order to maintain consistency, that should be a component that you can reuse, which is the same concept as a text style or a color variable. And this one, well, I definitely wish I knew this one from the start, is that anytime your client asks you how to do anything, which is going to be all the time, by the way, clients are always going to want to know how do they do this, how do they do that, send them a video. We have full training videos that we send to everyone on everything, how to use their content management system, how to set up an account on this, how to do that. We have training videos for everything. So basically what that means is not only are we able to literally record ourselves on Loom, taking someone through and showing them exactly how it works, where they're supposed to click, everything, but if they forget, they can watch it again in a few months' time. And this is something that we always used to do, was include these training videos, but I never used to speak about it, and most people didn't know that this was even included until they ultimately got involved in the service and ended up with that being part of their service. And now we highlight that we provide all this training, we provide the training videos, and that means that even people that see us on social media, they already know that if they don't have a high tech skill level, we're going to guide them, we're going to train them, we're going to make sure they know what they're doing. I spoke about this a little bit already, but it is really important, and that's about your client journey and your process. I've already spoken about the process and how you should have how it works on your website, explain to your clients exactly how it works, especially on the phone, just give them a quick overview of the process. But the client journey is just important, and we've already spoken about all the automations and stuff, which is basically what takes the client on their journey, but you really should be mapping out your client journey. We basically have a document, I'll show you actually, it's a design we put together on Figma, put it up on the screen here, and it basically just shows our average client journey. It will show the first stage is initial research and website structure, will take, however, 1 to 2 weeks. That's not the real amount of time, just an example, but 1 to 2 weeks, and it will explain in bullet points what goes into that. Next stage is a design phase, bullet points of what goes into the design phase, however many weeks that takes. We basically just outline our client journey, and obviously everybody goes on slightly different journeys, but ideally you want to make everyone's journey very similar, and you just want to outline briefly what the overall journey is. And remember, if you go on a journey and you're trying to get to a destination, if you don't have a map, you are never going to fucking make it there. So if you don't have a map of how you intend to take your clients on this journey, how can you expect to actually be able to take them on the journey successfully and consistently every time?
If you want to get more free value like this from me, you can sign up for my free newsletter on the Island Web Design website. I'm just giving away the value at this point, sharing everything I'm learning building this web design agency. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe for more.
Your email list is your own followers. If you have 200,000 followers on Instagram and Instagram gets shut down, you just lost 200,000 followers. They're gone. You probably have no way of finding out even who they were or how to contact them or whatever. They're gone. If you have 200,000 YouTube subscribers or Facebook followers and one of those companies shuts down or bans you or your account gets shut down, you're done. You've lost all those people. You're gonna have to start again. Your email list, you own that. These people are giving you their email. They're giving you permission to contact them. And now, no matter what platform shuts down or where they go, you're always gonna have a method to contact these people. And that's why email lists are so valuable. And I wish I knew this earlier, because if I had known this earlier, I'd have started an email list right at the start of Island Web Design, and I'd have a massive email list. We released YouTube content for a while consistently, and then we stopped and we worked on all our content, and now we're releasing again. And around that time, I had just implemented the email list around the time that we stopped and started building out all this content, and people sign up for it. Even now, my subscribers go up, my email list goes up, everything, because I'm providing value on YouTube and people are finding me, and I haven't made a video in time, and we would have such a bigger email list if I had known this from the start. And honestly, it's so valuable just to have a list of emails of people that have given you permission to contact them, they open your emails and they care about what you say. The next thing that's important is analytics and tracking. And I know a lot of people have basic analytics set up, they have Google Analytics set up, and that's all we had for a long time. And eventually we started implementing more and more tracking, and honestly, Facebook's data is inaccurate, Google Analytics is pretty inaccurate, like a lot of these tracking methods aren't accurate. And we gradually started introducing more and more. So first we set up a server tagging implementation where we were basically doing server tracking with Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. Then we involved the Facebook Conversions API, which means you get way more accurate data than from Facebook, but it's still not perfect, and Facebook's data isn't great anyway, but the Conversions API is definitely the best way to do it. And then we carried on building our analytics setup out from there, and we eventually introduced Hotjar, which gives us a whole new insight and level of tracking and analytics. And after that, we started introducing more ad stuff. Like recently, we kind of realized that Facebook's data is so inaccurate, even with the Conversions API, that we don't know about all the calls we're getting booked, all the leads we're getting. Like, the data is just inaccurate, and we're not able to scale our ads effectively. We have a proven ad strategy, and we haven't in the past been able to scale it effectively because we were not really sure what's working. The data is pretty inaccurate. You get loads of dummy leads and stuff coming from a Google bot that scans your site. So the data is really inaccurate, and we realized we needed to introduce a new tracking software. And I was going to use Hyros, but I couldn't even seem to get a call booked with them. And we ended up using ClickMagick, which I found online. I literally found a document of them explaining why they're better than Hyros, and I'm a developer, I understand what he's talking about, and a lot of it made sense, right? So I tried out ClickMagick, I got a free trial, and it is amazing. We can now track all the aspects of the client journey, obviously as long as they opt in to tracking with cookies and stuff, right? But we can now attribute if someone clicks on an ad, views our website, and then they leave, and then a couple weeks later they click on one of our emails and view our website, and they leave, and then eventually they come back on a different device and they book a call, we'll be able to attribute that to them. We'll know that they booked a call, they clicked on this ad, they clicked on this email. We can see their journey, right? Same when they make a purchase. We can trigger an event in Zapier that sends the purchase with the value and the email address that's matched to the person that gave their email address before. And now we can actually see which ads are making money, which ads are profitable. And now we're able to know, right, we can turn these ads off because they're not generating as many calls. This only generated this revenue. We can scale these ads up because look at this, like these ads are literally getting people to come back 6 months after they originally clicked the ad. So yeah, it's such valuable data. And this is something we've only really implemented recently, and it's given us such a good insight into actually being able to scale. So if you're marketing with ads, ads, which by the way, I really think you should be. I don't believe as a web designer you should be doing cold outreach. And I personally, in my own opinion, think web designers who aren't salesmen doing cold outreach, it kind of just comes off as desperate. But either way, we will get into that a little bit later. So yeah, the best way to market your company is ads, because in ads and on social media, not just ads, social media content, you can show what you're doing, you can visually show people things, and web design is a very visual thing. You can speak to people about the results, whereas if you're just getting hold of people with outreach talking about these results, it's not very believable. People have to check whether you're telling the truth or whatever, whereas if they see you on social media and you've got likes and comments and other people engaging, it just means you're more verified. It's funny that actually, because it leads me on to my next point, which is don't beg for work. Like, honestly, we don't, put it this way, all of the leads that come into our business, like I told you, we sold over 10 websites a month for 3 months consistently. I grew to over 100 clients in less than a year. All of the leads that come into our business come to us because they've seen me on social media, they've seen us on social media, or someone has told them about the work we've done for them. We literally had someone come to us recently who was like, yeah, like, I'm sold, I've seen the work that you've done for this person that I know, I've seen the results you got them, so where do we sign, basically, right? So yeah, don't beg for work. Like I said, I believe if you're a designer or whatever, just like getting hold of people like, look at my work, rah, rah, rah. Especially if you're not talking about results, so make sure you include all the tips that I spoke about in this video. But if you're begging for work, it just comes off as desperate. I'm kind of like, well, why are you, if you're begging for work, you clearly nobody wants your services. And I get so many people that cold email me and stuff, and they're offering me a website, and I'm like, I am Island Web Design, why the hell are you offering me a website? Maybe you get more clients if you actually research the people, but honestly, when you're on social media making videos and talking about this and that, you're kind of qualifying people already, because the only people that are watching and are interested and are going to click are people that have the problem or relate to the problem or have some relevance to what you're talking about. So you don't just end up like just cold emailing everybody, and a lot of people don't even need your services. Again, I wish so much that I knew this at the start, because this would have saved me so much time and trial and error. Clients don't understand technical terms. Clients don't know what SEO is. Clients don't know what a CMS means. Clients don't know any of this. When you're literally there going, yeah, we have a CMS and we do SEO to optimize this and that, they don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. As soon as you reframe it from all that bullshit about, yeah, we do search engine optimization, rah, rah, even saying search engine optimization, it's not very clear what, like, they don't know what you're talking about. Once you start saying to people, we are going to help you boost your Google search ranking by optimizing different elements of your website to make it more in line with what the search engine likes to show. We explain to them that Google shows things based on relevance, and you need to make sure that there's enough context on your on your website that Google's bot understands that your content is relevant to the search term. And even that can be like, you know, it's a lot of technical stuff. If they don't have any clue at all, they're probably not going to understand, but that is a better way of explaining it to them. And you just need to talk to everybody like they're at like a 4th grade reading level, because a lot of people just don't understand this technical stuff. Only you understand it. And honestly, your main skill and value when you're trying to sign clients is making them understand what you're talking about, understand why this is valuable to them, like see the same thing you're seeing, you know what I mean? The amount of times I thought I made an amazing ad and I'm talking about SEO and CMS and all this stuff, and honestly people just didn't have a clue what I was talking about, and I've not had a clue why it didn't work. It's mental. I've spoken before about how I went to teach a class at Amherst Primary School. I was invited to go and teach some roughly 8-year-old kids about web design, and I started talking and I had all this thing planned out. I thought it was great, and I'm going CMS, SEO, optimize, and I just see all these confused faces looking back at me. They had no idea what I was talking about, and I had to improvise instantly. I started showing them the Apple website and tying it in with, like, you know, devices that they had in their home so they could kind of, you know, understand what I was talking about and speak. And have any of you ordered on Amazon? All right, I'll show you the Amazon website and talk about what we're going to try and do and how, you know, what decisions Amazon have made to make you order better and all that. And I ended up just completely improvising the whole thing, because I know we're talking about 8-year-olds here, but what I'm saying is they didn't have a clue what I was saying. I had to improvise, and to be honest, a lot of the time it's going to be exactly the same when you're talking to people online if you use really technical terms and no one has a clue what you're talking about. Collect as many testimonials as possible and make sure you highlight them. Like, seriously, this is so important. We have so many good reviews from so many businesses, and we just collect all of them. I encourage all of my clients to leave video testimonials, and believe it or not, some people are willing to. I've had quite a few people leave me video testimonials, or a good couple anyway, and most people would expect that nobody's going to leave them video testimonials. But if you just say, yo, would you be willing to just turn your camera on and say a couple words about our service, a lot of people are going to be happy to. And you just want to make sure that you ask people for reviews at the time when they're actually happy, like the time when you've given them the result. You then want to say, is there any chance that you could leave us a review? And honestly, with Island Web Design, I could literally, so for example, I asked all my clients to review me on Facebook. 6 months later, I decided I want to build up my Google reviews. So I messaged a few of these clients and I'm like, yo, is there any chance you could just review me on Google, just copy and paste the same thing you wrote on Facebook? And even 6 months later, these clients ended up writing me a new review that was even better than the first one, which shows that even 6 months later, they're still just as happy. But if you're at the start and, you know, you can't like do the same thing with your client 6 months later, ask them when they're happy, ask them when you get them the result. And the idea is, if you ask them when they're happy about this result, when they write their testimonial, they're going to highlight that result and that you got it for them. And you just want to make sure you can get as many testimonials as possible. And I love to just slap them all on the page. If you go look at our new website, all our testimonials are just on the page. People can go through, and because people leave these reviews on Facebook, they've given it with their profile picture, which means you can use their profile picture to show that this is a real person that left it. And this just means that all these reviews are real, because if you're just uploading reviews to your website but they're not on Facebook Facebook or anything like that. For example, I'm not going to say who, but there was a company recently where you go on their website and loads of influencers are like, yeah, this is an amazing company, rah, 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 talking so good about it. Loads of reviews slapped everywhere. You go on their Facebook and everyone is talking shit about how shit the company is, because you can't curate those Facebook reviews, right? But you can curate the ones on your website. So the fact that the ones on our website match up directly to the ones on Facebook, we encourage people to go and leave them with their profile picture and their real account. This is probably one of the most important things. I have one ad set that I run that I put a significant budget behind. It's literally just pushing testimonials to people, being like, look at what we did. We can do the same for you. Before I tell you my next tip, let me tell you how I know my next tip, and this is basically a bonus tip. We have all our clients fill out a survey, and obviously not everyone fills them out, but we ask everybody, hey, is there any chance you could fill out this survey? We want to learn what we did good and what we could do better for next time. And one of the answers that I got on my survey, and by the way, as soon as we started automating out these survey requests and review requests, the amount of reviews and surveys that we got were like 50% higher very quickly as well. But either way, one of the answers I got on our survey was, we worked with this company, I won't say who, and they were happy with everything, yeah, like every answer was just, you did great at this, you did great at that. And then I said, like, can you please just try and think of one thing? One of our questions was, just try and think of one thing to tell us to do better with. And he said, I didn't like the fact that you sent us a load of long voice messages because I had trouble listening to them. I'm in an environment with loads of people, rah, rah, rah. So I thought that was great advice, because I was like, shit, not a lot of people do listen to my voice messages, and I'm always looking back and having to tell people to go back and listen to the voice messages. And then I had a client who kept sending me really long voice messages, and in the end I was like, I can't really listen to these, like I got people around and I have to sit there and listen and try and rewind it, see if I caught what they said correctly. And in the end I realized, you're sending people voice messages, it's so difficult that you want to just send people like text that they can read, because people are going to read that anywhere. Like when people send us website feedback, some people used to send us voice messages and all that. If they send us a loom, that would maybe be different, but no clients are doing that. And I always used to say to people, just send me a checklist of what you want me to work through. We can have a call and talk about some of the stuff if there's specific things you want to go through, but just send me a checklist of what you want to work through, and then I can just get it up in front of me and work through it. It's so much easier. And that's when I realized, don't send clients voice messages. It's really just not worth it. Most of them aren't going to get listened to. And another thing you don't do is, you've heard me say that I wake up at 4 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning to do all my work, and that's just the way that I've always done it, and it just seems to give me a significant head start. But what I realized, and it took me a while to realize this as well, is don't email clients at 4 a.m. Don't WhatsApp clients at 4 a.m. Like, honestly, I can't remember who told me this. Somebody just, I think it was a client that I messaged at 4 a.m. and they were literally just like, you shouldn't message clients at 4 a.m. And I was like, all right, sound. So in future, I just stopped messaging the clients at 4 a.m. I'd wait till like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to message people, because honestly, when I message people at 4 a.m., I always got the same response. 4 a.m. You're up at 4 a.m. Bloody hell. And I always got the same response, which was, oh my God, you're up at 4 a.m. And I'd always be like, yeah. And it ended up taking away from the fucking question that I asked in the first place. But either way, it's not even that. It's you don't want to be sending people emails at 4 a.m. and just annoying people. And I know that, like, what I used to say is people's phones going off all night anyway. A lot of people put their phone in do not disturb or whatever, but still, just don't bother messaging people at 4 a.m. Just message them when they get up. And I'm not saying, I know everyone's not getting up at 4 a.m. Let's say you're a late worker and you end up working until like 2, 3 a.m. at night. Don't message clients at that time either. Again, this was something I had to learn very quickly, and that is, don't argue with clients thinking you know better, because I used to say clients hire me as the expert, they expect me to kind of give them a bit of debate and tell them, like, not that I know better, but like, this is a better way of doing it, rah, rah, and explain why. But I realized that there's a certain way of doing that, and you really can't do it. Like, you can't just start arguing with people. I actually had a client at the beginning that I basically just argued with, and he was so happy with his website that it ended up going well, and lucky he was very understanding. But that made me realize there and then, shit, I need to sort this out or I'm not going anywhere. And for example, I had a friend who I did a website for, yeah, and that was very, very early on before I'd learned all this stuff. And then we came to do their new website recently, and he was like, oh, I remember last time you kind of argued with me and told me straight about things. He was like, I'm happy for you to do that again, but just kind of make it like, I'm gonna basically do the same back and blah, blah. And I had to be like, I don't do that anymore. I learned that lesson very quickly. Like, you're gonna find this time that that's not the case anymore. And it was just something for me, like, I'd never worked with clients before. I've worked with a lot of clients now. I now have that experience. But in the past, I'd never worked with clients. My pride kind of got in the way a little bit. And I just thought, I know better, I'm the expert, rah, rah, rah. But that's really not the case. There are gonna be certain clients that are hiring you as the expert and just want you to give your expert opinion and for you to kind of control it. But there are gonna be other clients that want to give a load of input, have their own creative input. It's their business, they know best. And honestly, the case is, it is their business and they do know best. Even when we write their copy, I always say to people, if you write your own copy, it's always better because you have way more context into your business than we do, but obviously we can write your copy and then you can revise it with us and all that. But people just have way better insights into their own business than you do. Like, even if you know better about web design, you don't know better about their fucking business. Clients don't give a shit about animations. And guess how I found that out? Because every time that I would do a sick animation, I'd design a sick animation or I'd code a sick animation, I send it to the client and I'd be like, look at this sick animation. And they'd always be like, And I was just like, what the fuck, how do people not like, you know, these animations are sick. And I realized that clients just don't give a shit. They don't see it the same way you do. They don't understand what went into it. They don't understand the technical side of it. Like, honestly, your animation, even though it's sick for the user, you know, it gives a premium feel. And also it shows that people who get like instant gratification from taking an action, like they hover on a button and it moves or whatever, it makes them more likely to convert or to click the button. But regardless, like, clients don't care. They don't even understand that. And that actually goes back to why you should give context. If you explain that to clients and how it's going to benefit them, maybe they'll understand. But just showing them a pretty animation, they're going to be like, oh. They don't even understand that that's hard to do. They see animations everywhere. They probably think it's quite easy to do, to be honest. And following on from not arguing with clients, right? Your job is not to show off your knowledge, obviously to a certain extent, but like, your job is to make clients feel at ease and make them feel like you understand and it's not hard and you're going to be able to guide them. And like I always tell people, you can have as much or as little involvement as you want, because like I said, some people want to be really involved, some people don't want to be involved at all. You need to listen to people more, and honestly, this should go without saying, but like, obviously I used to struggle with this. You need to listen to people more. Like, I used to just talk over people and just like, you know, think I was displaying myself as the expert, but like I said, you're supposed to make people feel at ease. And I used to waste so many fucking meetings, or even when I used to do boxing with my boxing coach, I used to waste so many boxing fucking sessions just talking when I should just be listening. And honestly, I'm not going to dive too much into that because there's so much to unwrap here, and we probably do a whole other video on talking, not talking and listening, and speaking, you know, confidently, and how to handle yourself in a meeting and all that. But honestly, just listen to people more. Like, you might not have this problem, but I used to have this problem and I still do a lot, and I really need to just like check myself and be like, listen. If you're selling people something, right, you need to believe in what you're selling. Like, the reason I can confidently pitch someone on our service is because I know it's a good option for them. I know that the result that we can get them is going to benefit their business. And honestly, that's a great feeling about what we do, is we're literally helping people's businesses. Like, they're making more money, they're getting more customers, they're getting more traffic, like more everything, more awareness, like their reputation is better because people are seeing them online and all that. And the reason I can do this is because like, I really know the value that we provide. So when I pitch something to someone and I'm like, look, this is going to be great for you, like, this is, obviously this isn't what I say, but you know what I'm saying, like when I say to people, it's going to be great for you, blah, 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 like, I believe it. So they can see that I believe it. Like, clients can tell if you're telling them a load of bullshit and you don't really believe in the service. Hence why these people that are selling information online and teaching people stuff online that they've never done, like, people can fucking tell. Like, 18-year-old teaching people how to make money is really like, if you're 18, you've been in the working world for like 2 years, maybe 4 years. If you're an early starter, it's like, what do you know about making money? This one is so perfect for designers and creatives, and that's that nothing's personal, because when you show people your work, people aren't going to like it sometimes. Design is subjective. It's like music. It isn't factually like rap is good, rock is bad, right? Some people would say rock is good, rap is bad. Some people would say rap is good, rock is bad. Honestly, it's completely subjective. Some people like blue, some people like pink, some people like this design, some people like that design. You can't be offended. It's not personal. Do you think when you call up, like, I don't know, any company, like your mobile service provider, and you say to them, oh, I'm pissed off because this happened and that happened, do you think that, like, they're losing any sleep over that? No, they're not, because it's not personal. Like, obviously you care about the client and what they want and what they think and all that, but don't take it personally, don't take it to heart. I always tell people, and this is one of our #1 catchphrases, don't be scared to offend us. When you give me feedback on your website, I want you to basically tear me apart, because that's how we get the best result. Like I said, they have a better insight into their business than you do, so you need to allow them to give honest feedback. I've said to clients so many times, look, I can tell that you're scared to offend me. Just be honest. Some people still don't. I had one client, I won't say who it is, that was literally kept telling me they liked it and they didn't, until we got to the end and they were raging. And I was like, well, look, I give you multiple opportunities to revise and tell me what you do and don't like. So we don't have a situation like this, and that's why I've never had a situation like this before. But ultimately, that's what happened there, and that's the lesson to be taken from that. As a designer, you should be using plenty of inspiration. I've said before, design is not art. Art is creating things from scratch. We're not artists, we're designers, which is taking existing styles and putting them together to create a new take on something, right? Which means that you should be using plenty of inspiration for what you design. And like, I've got a full video on better inspiration websites to use than Dribbble and Behance, and the actual inspiration websites that we use to build these high-ticket websites that I showed you at the beginning. Not only should you use plenty of inspiration, go and look at other websites in your industry, what's working. There's certain things that you should copy because that's what works, that's why they're doing it, and there's certain things you shouldn't copy to differentiate yourself, and you need to be able to work out what that is. So use plenty of inspiration, but not only that, get the client to give you inspiration. In our questionnaire, I literally tell clients, go to Dribbble and Behance, and I tell them Dribbble and Behance because it's easy for them to use, but go to Dribbble and Behance, search up websites in your industry and find stuff you like. If you've got other websites that you like already from other people in your industry, competitors, tell me what you like about them. That's the best place to start, is to know exactly what the clients do and don't like about other websites, because you should be using inspiration. Design is not art. You're not trying to create things from scratch, and honestly, like, simplicity is always better. Always confirm a timeline with a client, or say it's indefinite. And what I mean here is, we always tell clients, Well, we used to tell clients a specific timeline, right? And ultimately, when you're giving people a timeline, you're getting more and more clients. You end up being, like sometimes you can fall outside of the timeline, and ultimately you have to keep extending your timeline. And what I ended up realizing is most clients didn't have a deadline. They didn't even want a timeline. The fact that you put one in place was what was causing this friction in the first place. So I always say to people, if you have a specific deadline or timeline that you would like us to meet, then we will meet it and you will be prioritized. But if not, then it's going to be pretty quick. Like, it's going to be within probably 6 to 8 weeks. It could be either side of that, but the website is going to be pretty quick. And if you don't have a timeline, then we are going to mark this as indefinite. And most people are cool with that. I'd say 95% of our clients are on an indefinite timeline and their website still gets done extremely quickly, but it just means we're not actually setting a deadline. And a lot of the time that can be helpful. It really does depend. But what I'm basically saying here is just be careful. If you are going to set deadlines, make sure you set realistic deadlines. And that's why I always say to people, it's going to be within our deadline, but like if you don't have a specific deadline, we're just going to keep it indefinite. And most people are sound with that. The next two tie into each other, and that is always take a deposit. I always take a 50% deposit. I always have done from the beginning, and nobody has ever complained. I only ever had one person complain. They ultimately didn't end up paying it, but everyone else does, so I had no issues. And I have a friend who's a developer, and I told him that I was taking a deposit, and I actually wanted him to do some work for us, and I said I was going to pay him a 50% deposit, and he was like, oh, should I be taking a 50% deposit? And I was like, yes, of course you should be taking a deposit. What happens if you start this project, you do all this work for the client, and then they go out of business, or they decide they don't want it anymore, or they don't like it, or you fall out with them, or whatever, and you've done all this work and committed a load of work to it. Like, you need to have an incentive to actually start the work. So take a 50% deposit, take 50% at the end, and that's what we used to do, was take 50% deposit and 50% at the end. But I ultimately realized that in a business, you need to be able to get the amount of time it takes to collect money down. And we wanted to get our time to money down. So now our pricing structure is a little bit different. We take a 50% deposit at the start, we take 25% when the design's complete, and we take 25% at the end. But we also make it clear to clients that it is just one price. Even though it's paid in technically 3 installments, it is just one price. We don't do any monthly billing for the websites, and that's going to lead me onto a tip in a minute, but we also don't do any hourly charging or anything. So I have 2 tips based around that, right? First one with the monthly billing is, I used to think that I needed to charge like a monthly sort of retainer package for maintenance on the website. And what I realized by listening to my clients, by the way, remember my previous tip, is that what happens here is people pay for a retainer for maintenance on their website, and maintenance doesn't need to be done all the time. So they end up developing a bitter relationship with their developer, they're paying them and nothing needs to be done. And also a lot of this stuff is very simple changes that they're paying for, changes to text, changes to images, and they need to be able to change this stuff themselves. So we don't do any monthly billing for that kind of stuff. We implement a full content management system with training, so they can do all this stuff themselves, but they can also call us when they need additional changes that fall outside the content management system, and we'll ultimately work with them on that. But that doesn't mean that you don't need retainers. You're not going to be able to maintain a business and pay people as you grow and all that kind of stuff if you're literally just selling websites and relying on the websites you sell each month and you don't have any consistent monthly income. That's why we introduced our social media package. I mean, people literally were seeing how well our Facebook ads were doing and were like, can you do that for us? And we started doing it for a few people. We got them like amazing results. We had one client who we got like 50 customers in like 60 days. So people saw that and we introduced that, and that was how we were able to maintain like a consistent monthly revenue and then still sell all the websites on top. And this is also why you should not charge hourly. Like, we've never charged hourly. We do have an hourly rate because in some situations you will need to charge hourly if someone just wants like an hour work done or whatever. But in general, do not charge hourly, because not only are you punishing yourself for finishing quicker, when ultimately if you can get the client the result quicker, why wouldn't that be better? But also there isn't much trust in hourly. Like, people don't know if that's really the amount of time you took. And like I just said, people know in their head that like, well, if he takes longer, it's better for him. So like, you know, it's just not logical. Like, if anyone wants to pay you hourly for work that you're doing away from them and work that would be done better, quicker, it just doesn't make sense. Don't keep agreeing to do extra things for free. So if you signed a client and you're working on their project and now they want this extra thing, and now they want that extra thing, and now they want this extra thing. So as the client starts saying, yeah, I want to add this and that, you need to literally be like, look, that's outside of the scope of work. We've included all this in the contract. I'll give you a quote for the extra stuff and it's going to be this much. It's going to take this long. And like at the start, yeah, I used to just agree to everyone and be like, yeah, okay, we'll add this. All right, we'll add that. And because I love web design and development, and if they were going to add something that was going to make the site better, I was all for it. Even like I didn't want to go and quote them for it, and then they weren't game for actually doing it because of the quote, and I'm like, oh, I wanted to implement that. But I had to honestly just put my personal feelings aside. Like, I can build whatever I want in my own time, and for their site, if they want extra stuff, you need to quote people, otherwise you're going to end up doing loads of extra work for free. Especially because we offer unlimited revisions, yeah? That's unlimited revisions of the design. Tell us what you do like, what you don't like. That doesn't mean you can just add things indefinitely. You need to make that very clear. As a web designer, developer, even in marketing, right, I wish that I had learned more about domains and hosting at the start. Even in marketing, when you need to set up custom tagging domains and, you know, like there's domains are involved in everything. So it's hosting for web designers, developers. You're going to be hosting a lot of your clients' websites. You're going to be sourcing so many domains for clients. And regarding like domain records, even with email marketing, with SBF records and DMARC records and domain authority and all that kind of stuff, domain reputation, you need to know about domains. And it took me so long, like, at the start I used to be like, look, I don't know much about domains, like kind of thing, and it just wasn't beneficial to me, because then people were like, well, aren't you supposed to be sorting out our domains? So I had to go and learn all about domains and hosting, and I wish I had done that earlier. This won't be such a problem for you at the start, but it will be as you grow, is get somebody to handle all your accounts. For far too long, I was doing all the payroll, I was filling out my like social security stuff every month, I was filling out my tax returns every month, reconciling all of my accounts and all of my statements myself, and it's an absolute nightmare. It takes so much time, I'd always be putting it off, I'd always want to be working on other stuff, and now I'm getting somebody in to do all that for me, because there's just so much to do with it. And honestly, like, that's the one thing in your business you don't want to be focusing on, is that kind of stuff, to be honest. You want somebody who knows what they're doing to be focusing on that kind of stuff. Leaving money on the table is fine, and so many people struggle with this, but honestly, like, your reputation is more important than taking on projects that you can't deliver on just because you don't want to leave money on the table. Like, we've turned down so many projects, and we try and take an ideal client. Like, we now say to people, we don't accept you if we don't think we can get you results. In other words, if you're not an ideal client, like, we're just not going to take you. Like, we want to make sure that we're actually taking clients that are ideal for our service. So leaving money on the table is absolutely fine. Like, we had a client approach us recently for a pretty big project where they wanted me to design the front of their shop, and I was really interested in taking this on. I thought it sounded awesome, but in the end I had to turn it down, because I was like, look, we're very busy right now, and it would not make sense for Island Web Design to be focused on designing people's shops when we've got a load of websites that we need to be focusing on. So honestly, it's completely fine to leave money on the table. Your reputation is more important than the money that you're leaving on the table. And if you take on projects that you can't deliver for, or you can't get the best results for, just because you want to take on the project, you're going to end up ruining your reputation, and like, word of mouth can work in a bad way as well, trust me. So I used to take so many calls. I used to take basically any lead that would get hold of us, if they wanted a call or a meeting, I would take it. And I now realize that you need to qualify people in some sort of way before you get on a call with them. And we put our pricing on our website. That is something I 100% recommend doing, although a lot of people don't want to. But we put our pricing on our website, and it's very clear to people how much they're going to be paying. And you end up with all of these meetings and calls booked, and you're meeting all these people, and your close rate ends up being really low because you're not qualifying these people at all. So not only do you want to keep these meetings to the point, but you also just want to try and meet with people that are actually qualified. And honestly, we do way more calls than meetings now. Anybody's welcome to have a meeting with us, but most people just want to get on a call. When we first started, right, and at first I was reluctant to take on clients in Jersey, because I kind of thought, like, I don't know why, web design's online, but I thought us not being able to meet with them was going to be a problem. And I would say to every Jersey client, I will happily come to Jersey and meet you if you want. And honestly, nobody took me up on the offer. Everyone was like, no, call is fine. So honestly, like, you just need to get to the point with these things and try and get on calls with qualified people, and don't have your whole schedule just booked up with bullshit. Like, you need to focus on the tasks that actually drive the business forward. I've spoken about this already, but it's so valuable to build an audience. Like, I literally have an audience of people that care about my videos and what I say, and they want to watch them, and they care about our work and what we're doing. And that is just invaluable, because, for example, I got tagged in a status once on Facebook, so I just checked the notification to go and see it, and some random person had said they were looking for a website, and some other random person who I had never met and did not know was saying, Jordan, tagging me, telling them I'm great and that I can do it. And I just thought, like, it's actually crazy that people that I don't even know are recommending me, and that's because I have an audience and I'm able to establish myself online, so people that I don't even know this. People aren't going to care about you raising your prices as long as that the value increases with the price. So basically, we've increased our prices a lot of times, and not only is that to meet demand, because we've had so much demand that if we kept the prices the same, we'd be taking on far too many people, we'd be far too busy, and we wouldn't be able to deliver the same quality of result for our clients. So we've raised our prices loads of times, and each time I've kind of been like, oh, I don't know if I want to raise my price, and I've raised it a little bit. And like, I ended up realizing that the price increases with the value, and I told you guys before that you don't want clients that are like trying to get an affordable website, rah. So that really ties in with this. And we had a consultant that we were working with, right? And I was going to put my prices up quite significantly because we had just hired people and we were providing so much more with the websites, providing way more value, and we had increased demand. So I was going to put the prices up quite significantly. And I sent him the price page that I'd done, and he was like, we need to think about this, we need to go through it, we need to carefully think about like what's the right amount to increase it by, do this slowly, don't do it right now, rah. And I was like, it's live. And he's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, it's live. So it went live, and no one said a thing because people could see the value we were providing. People could see that the value had increased. We had more people working for us, more people were working on their project. Ultimately, the entire project is valued more because more is going into it. Focus on just one thing, and I don't mean one service or like web design, web development. I mean focus on just your business. When I first started out, my marketing was very successful, and I won't say who, but I had a company, a CEO of a very well-known company in Guernsey, get hold of me and ask for a call. So I got on a call with them, and they basically said to me that they were starting another company, and they wanted to basically give me the Guernsey, Jersey, Isle of Wight, Isle of Man side, and they wanted me to market it. And I said no. I was actually like, no, I'm just trying to focus on island web design. I don't really understand why you would want me to do this. I don't know a lot about this specific industry, so I just think I want to focus on island web design. And I was so torn between this decision, and this guy was literally like throwing mad numbers around about amounts of money and all that, and I just said no. And I was actually kind of surprised at myself, but I was very happy with myself, because I always said if something like that happened, I would say no, and I did, and I focused on island web design, and we've managed to achieve all our goals and grow exactly how I intended we would grow. And I don't think we've been able to do that if I was trying to run another business as well, especially one I don't know anything about, because I'd had to go and learn all about it. Pick one logo and colors and all that and stick with it. Have a clear brand. At the start, I had about 5 different logos. I was just trying different logos all over the place, putting them on different colors. We had a different website loads of times. And now we've locked in our branding. So not only do people recognize my face, but they recognize our colors. They recognize the logo. We wear all the clothing with the logo on. So just lock in a brand look. And come on, we're designers. You should be able to do this pretty easily. Here's another quick tip. Having an audience of web designers and developers, which is mainly what my audience is, and agency owners and that, is not going to help you sell websites. I just do this because I like doing it. Like, honestly, just like making content and sharing value and all that kind of stuff. And like, obviously the content that I make on my Facebook ads and stuff, which is slightly different, it does help us get customers. But this kind of stuff is not helping us get customers. I'm building an audience of web designers and developers that care about what I talk about. And like, I just like being able to build that audience, being part of the community, and I just enjoy doing it. Always wear your company clothing. There's a YouTuber, yeah, that I love, and I say YouTuber, but he's not a YouTuber, he's a marketing agency owner, and it's Eddie Malouf. Yeah, he's a very, I don't think he's very, like, I think he's heavily underrated. Like, not many people know who this guy is. He owns a massively successful marketing agency, and I was watching one of his talks on YouTube, and he is the marketing behind CEO Lawyer, if anyone knows who CEO Lawyer is. And CEO Lawyer was talking about a conversation he had. He has millions of followers, makes loads of money, and someone kept saying to him, oh, like, why do you always wear your company hat with your logo on it? And he was like, look, like, I've got a 7-figure company. You guys run a 6-figure company. Maybe you'd have a 7-figure company like me if you wore your company's clothing. And obviously I know that's pretty arrogant, but the point I'm making here is like, I wear Island Web Design clothing everywhere. Why wouldn't you be wearing your company clothing? I encourage my staff to wear the Island Web Design clothing. This is our branding, and people see it, they recognize me. Some people just see me walking along in the hoodie and they're like, oh, Island Web Design, and it reminds them. So honestly, you should always wear your company clothing or a hat or your like branding, and encourage your employees to wear it as well. Max works for us. He also goes to university in Brighton. Right now he's back at uni in Brighton, and he's gonna be doing a talk about the time he's had working with us to his lecturers and all that, and he's going to be wearing the Island Web Design t-shirt, and that's extremely beneficial. I spoke about the questionnaire a little bit, but the way the questionnaire arrives is you need a welcome email, and seriously, we've built this out to the point now where we have a full welcome video that comes where we tell clients what to expect and all that. But originally we just worked with a welcome email. It just confirmed that their payment was received, gave them their questionnaire, tells them who their account manager is and who's the designer that's going to be working on their project. And also I give them a load of resources. I'll say, here's a link to Dribbble and Behance to find websites you like. Here's a link to font libraries if you would like to pick your font. Here's a link to colors if you want to explore that, images if you want to explore this. I just give them the opportunity to explore resources and give their input if they want to. You don't need a shitload of subscriptions and softwares and monthly payments. You are going to have like softwares and stuff that are really important to your company. Like, we have softwares in our company that are pivotal, like ClickUp and HubSpot and all of these kind of things. And there's plenty more on that list. And like I said, I've done a full video where I dive into all the softwares included that we use to operate Island Web Design. But you don't need a massive library of fucking softwares. And like, for example, let's say you're using ClickUp to do project management, and you're like, oh, I'm bored of ClickUp, I'm going to try Asana, and then I'm going to bored of Asana, I'm going to try Monday. Like, who gives a fuck if you're bored? If ClickUp works well, stick with ClickUp. You don't need to know how to do everything yourself, and obviously you need to know how to do the main things that your company sells, because if you don't know how to do the main things your company sells and you think you're going to outsource it, how are you even going to be able to instruct these people when you don't know how to do it yourself? But you don't need to know how to do everything yourself. Like, for example, I spoke about the accounting, or for example, I'm not a back-end developer, I'm a front-end developer and a designer, and we have a friend of mine who's a developer who happens to specialize in back-end development, who does a lot of work for us. I don't know a lot about how that works. I understand the basics of it and all that, but I don't know a lot about how that works. But he's the expert and I trust him, so you don't need to know how to do everything. And if I had to spend loads of time learning about databases, I'd never learn as much as he knows, and I'd waste a load of time. And this is great advice for any web designer, developer, agency owner, whatever, and that is focus on your current clients instead of getting new ones, and you'll get more new ones. Because honestly, the thing that really determines whether new ones come in, even cold traffic, they read your testimonials and that. So the thing that determines all of this coming in is how well you deliver for your current clients. So stop focusing on fucking sales calls and that all day until you can actually deliver properly for your clients and get them the result that you said you could. Because if you're going to talk a load of shit online, you need to be able to back it up. Your information and expertise and knowledge isn't secret. Seriously, like, everybody says to me, like my dad used to say to me, are you sure you want to give away all these tips to people and that? I'm telling you now, this stuff isn't secret. The more value you provide people, the more goodwill you build up in your audience. And if you build up goodwill in your audience by providing them value, and you don't extract it from them by pitching them something unless it's absolutely necessary, your audience are going to trust you. And that's why we get so many leads coming to us. And when I get on the call with them, I don't even need to pitch them because they're already pitched. If you want to make more money, you need to know how many calls booked you need, what your close rate on those is, how many leads you need, how many websites you need to sell a month to hit your goals. If you have no idea how many websites you're supposed to sell, how many calls booked you need, what your conversion rate is, how much ad spend you need to spend and all that kind of stuff, how the fuck do you even know what you're doing? Make sure you have a good way to track your subscriptions, but also make sure you have a good way to track all the client domains and stuff. Because we own loads of domains for our clients. Some we're paying for on behalf of our clients. Some our clients, we own them, but our clients are paying for them, and others are like hosted elsewhere and we're not paying for them. It was an absolute mess. We had to clean all that up, get it all tracked properly. Same as our subscriptions, so we actually know, like we had so many subscriptions that we weren't even using, and I just went through and turned them all off. It was so helpful and saved actually quite a bit of money. And that leads me on to my next thing, which is never put client payments on your own card. So for example, if you're trying to set up ad spend or a subscription for a client and you don't have their card, don't put your own card in and be like, oh, I'll just invoice them later. Because I did that at the start, and I still get Google Cloud invoices all the time. I don't even know who they're for. Luckily, they're really cheap, so I don't bother invoicing anyone for them. But like, yeah, it's mental. And when it comes to actually coding the websites, like make sure you have consistency in your CSS and your class names and your JavaScript variables and all that kind of stuff. And just like consistency in your prettier config file. So when it, prettier like prettifies your code, make sure everybody's using like the same configs. As some people aren't using 2 tabs with a semicolon and some is no semicolon with 4 tabs. Like just make sure with ESLint as well, that everything's consistent. All the developers that are working on the same thing have the same setup. And that goes for Figma as well, like naming conventions, like the size, which type scale you're using, which spacing scale you're using, and all that needs to be consistent within your company. As a web designer, I should know about call to actions, but I really wish I understood this properly at the start. Tell people what you want them to do. Click the link, go to our website, fill out the form, and book a call to apply now. Tell people exactly what you want them to do. The same with a hook. You need to engage people. We got this company 50 leads in 60 days, and we can do exactly the same for you, and I'm about to show you how. Like, you need to engage people, and like, honestly, like, I always knew this, but I never quite got it right. And now I do, and I know how to properly engage people. If you communicate your value properly on your landing page, your ads communicate the value properly, and you qualify people correctly, you can close people on a call without having to send them a proposal. And we used to send everybody proposals, and it really kind of confused our funnel. There were so many more steps, a lot more people would drop off. And honestly, as long as you make sure you cover everything on the call, they don't need to know all the technical details. And if they do, like, they can ask. I always tell people, if you have any questions about anything specific or technical, feel free to ask. But honestly, like, you can just close people on a call if you include all the correct information on your landing page and in your funnel and your ads and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the time, you're not even going to need to send a proposal. And this is my last tip, especially for companies like us that are doing a lot of marketing on Facebook and Instagram, is don't reply to comments. Honestly, there are so many just dickheads on Facebook. Like, there's a million amazing people on Facebook as well, but the problem with, for example, Facebook lead forms is you get bad quality leads because everybody's on Facebook, they've got too much time on their hands. Like, don't reply to comments. If I get a bad comment insulting me and it's not true, I just delete it. I don't reply to it, like, I don't give a fuck. And a lot of the time I'll keep them there because, people are allowed their opinion or whatever. So when I first started, I actually had this random guy on Facebook from Jersey message me and just basically start giving me shit. And I'm like, look mate, like, I've just had a successful launch, it's doing really well, like, fuck off. And he's literally like, oh, but that's low-hanging fruit. Basically saying, that's not hard to have a successful launch, let's see how you maintain. And I found myself arguing with this guy, and I'm like, hold on a fucking minute, what the fuck am I arguing with this bloke for? Like, fuck this guy, fuck him, I don't know who he is, like, unless he becomes a client of mine, then I'll start caring about him, but he obviously doesn't care about me. And that's when I realized, like, fuck replying to comments and all that, even if they do hurt my feelings, which to be honest, most of the time they don't, but like, if they do, then like, come on, how bad do you look replying to the comments? When I see people replying to bad comments, arguing with them, I'm like, what a fucking idiot. I mean, it's different if someone leaves you a bad review and you apologize and you're like, look, we're actually fixing this by doing this, that, and this, but like, honestly, don't reply to comments. Like, honestly, you get online as a whole, forget Facebook and Instagram, online as a whole is loads of amazing people and loads of like the bottom of the bottom as well. Like, look at places like fucking Reddit and all that, you know what I mean? So like, seriously, just like think about where you are online as well when you're talking to people, because all these platforms talk to each other differently, and the kind of way people might talk to you on Twitter is going to be different to how people might talk to you on LinkedIn, for example. And this is my last bonus tip, which is how important email marketing is. And like, seriously, e-commerce companies say that about 60% of their revenue on average comes from their newsletter. And honestly, like I said before, you have an ecosystem of all these people that have become leads and dropped off, or people that are subscribed to your newsletter and all that. And honestly, like, you can nurture these people for a long time, provide them value, help them with tips and all that kind of stuff. And as you provide these people more and more value, they're going to end up becoming your customer. People that drop off are going to end up being reminded of you and come back when they're more suitable to the service. So honestly, email marketing is so fucking valuable. So that was over 100 things that I wish I knew when I started Island Web Design that would have helped us get to the 10K a month mark much quicker, and we got there way quick anyway. So imagine how quick we could have got there if we'd have known all this stuff. And you guys now know this as well, so I hope you can implement this in your own business to see growth like we did. So anyway, thanks for watching, and if you want more tips like this from the owner of a real web design agency, then make sure you subscribe for more. You can subscribe to our free newsletter on our new website. You can check that out from the link in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching.